Welcome to The Longer Game, the only show that's dedicated to the future of retail. We bring on real-life people in the retail industry. We talk about their experiences, we share their stories, we apply it to what's currently going on in the market, and we look towards the future of retail. You could say it's retail reimagined. My name is Michael Marr. I run a customized, done-for-you service agency called Cartology that helps brands win on Amazon. Now, while my expertise stems in the Amazon field, we bring on a wide array of guests because retail is expansive. You've got e-commerce. Yes, you've got marketplaces like Amazon. You've also got brick and mortar that is evolving. You've got logistics. You've got technology, finance. There are so many aspects to retail, and it's complicated. So we're here to bring you the entire story. Do you think that you have an interesting story and you'd like to tell it on the podcast? Then go to thelongergame.com and fill out a form to be a guest on the show today. You can catch The Longer Game on any social channels: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and our website, thelongergame.com. We've got all awesome guests on this show, so that I will promise. Are you ready to hear more about the future of retail? Let's get down to business. Welcome, everybody, to The Longer Game, the podcast where we talk all about retail. And I say that every time we start this podcast. I kind of am getting tired of it, so I feel like I might change it up, but maybe not for this season. Maybe I'll wait until season 4 for me to change what I say there. But I'm just having some open thought dialogue with myself right now. Anyway, we talk about e-commerce. We talk about retail. We talk about Amazon, which is e-commerce, but is also kind of becoming retail. That's at least what my agency, Cartology, does. And we have all kinds of people on the show to give their perspective on that. And today on the show, we have Adam Callinan, who is the founder and CEO of Pentane. And he also has a great brand story with the brand called BottleKeeper. But I'm going to let him tell a little bit more about his background, and then we'll start to dive in. Or maybe we won't. Who knows? I get to decide what we do.
I like rabbit holes. I feel like we'll let's go find some rabbit holes to go down.
I'm totally cool with that if you're cool. I'm like the tangent king, so.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I'll find us some rabbit holes then.
Okay, then that would be ideal.
Good ones.
Like Alice in Wonderland, rabbit.
It's great.
Yeah, rabbit holes. I'm good with that.
I saw that, talking about rabbit holes, I saw that recently because I have kids. That is a wild movie.
The cartoon, the animated version, right?
Yeah, the original one. It is insane.
Big Disney fans over here, and we love a lot of those classic movies. And honestly, especially some of the older ones, like something like Aristocats, like the songs in there are so banging, and they're really funny. But they also they don't shy away from the challenging stuff that's in life. And honestly, any Disney movie, it's like, okay, when does somebody's parents die? Like
100% of the time,
one or two parent is dead. I mean, just look at Frozen, like that. Even more recent, both go. You can't even keep both your parents. That's terrible. But they do teach great life lessons. And Alice in Wonderland you're right, it is an insane movie. Also because it's not a straightforward, even like Aladdin or Little Mermaid style movie. It's pretty trippy, like the Cheshire Cat and his smile, the Red Queen who's constantly pissed, and
nuts.
She's nuts. And then there's even scientific, there's a book that I read called The Red Queen that talked about that theory in science, which I'm probably going to butcher it, but basically everywhere in Through the Looking Glass, which I believe was the prequel to Alice in Wonderland, the Red Queen is moving and the forest is moving, but she always ends back up where she was. And that basically is the theory that everything ends up back where it is, on the Earth and on planet Earth, which is kind of crazy to think about. But it really is a trippy movie. They're smoking caterpillar. He's smoking a hookah, but it's probably doobie. Let's just be honest. A doobie.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild. So BottleKeeper.
Yeah. Great segue.
Yeah, that was a good segue. You can tell I also have a podcast by that gem. To relevance. BottleKeeper was a consumer product company that my cousin Matt and I started in 2013. I was in a medical device and tech company before that. I sold out of the tech company and had a lot of scar tissue going into BottleKeeper. The result of which is I was adamant that we build it with no employees. I literally wanted to build a scalable business that could operate from anywhere in the world. So my wife and I could travel with 0 employees. And putting that guardrail on the business early on forced me to solve problems a different way. And it worked really, really well. Partly because it also meant we had effectively no expenses. So we were able to reinvest 100% of the cash back into the business, growing inventory and ad spend. And this is like the beautiful heyday of Facebook marketing where you like couldn't spend it fast enough. But the result of that is we got, in our third year of operations, we got to 8 million in revenue with no employees, no investors. My wife and I were out of the country for 6 months of the year. It was epic. And then grew the company up. We did a total of about 60 million in revenue over the course of the last handful of years, got acquired by private equity, had a bunch of patents, learned a bunch of lessons. It was great, but there were a handful of things that we did really, really well. And there were a boatload of things we did really, really bad in hindsight. One was that we understood how to pull levers in the business to drive profitable revenue. Like, bottom line, we knew how.
Why is profit important again? Can you explain? For people that just aren't sure, Adam, why don't you tell them, why is profit so important?
It's funny. I listened to a podcast, one of your podcasts with John Connolly. I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It was a recent one. And he had a quote. He made a quote. I'm going to have to do like LinkedIn posts about it because it was epic. His quote, I'm going to paraphrase, was something to the effect of, if you're just operating your business without your eye on profit, you're effectively winding it down slowly. You just don't know it. Like, that could not be more true. I mean, if you're the person and you have the brand and the stomach to just raise money forever, great. I'm not that person.
But also, just raising money forever doesn't prove your concept or prove that there's something in the market. And I get so frustrated with people in our brands when someone's like, I just need this money. I just need this money to get this thing to go somewhere. And my question, I've even like formulating in my head, is like, don't just ask, what is it that I need? But ask, what is it that I need, that I feel like I need right now? And what would I do if I don't get what I need?
Yeah. Because
you might actually find what you do need is something very different, and what you thought you needed is really just something that you want. I want $10 million of investment. Okay, well, if you don't get $10 million of investment, what are you going to do? If your answer is, I'm just going to shut the business down, did you really have something at all, and are you really that passionate about it? But if the other option is, well, I would do this, and if it's a product-based business, maybe I'd pre-sell. If it as a service-based business, I would go test it while I'm working a full-time job. Like, now I feel like you might actually be onto something. And that drives me nuts that people just want to raise and raise and raise to get acquired, to then go and raise and get acquired. And like all these, like I don't have a problem with acquisition, but it's almost like, I think you probably would remember this, people who are selling Facebook ads to people to sell people Facebook ads. And I'm like, where is, like, you talk about like Alice in Wonderland shit. I'm like, are you kidding me? Selling Facebook ads to sell Facebook ads? Where does it stop?
Well,
it doesn't,
but
it does.
Yeah, but like the fundraising cycles, I mean, we're 100% on the same page. It's a model it's a game I don't want to play. It's a model I don't understand. I think having constraints in a business is one of the most valuable things that you can do. And it's hard to self-impose constraints. I mean, in BottleKeeper, I self-imposed a constraint that I was not going to manage a person. And obviously we got big enough where I had to, and we built a small team, and that was great.
Sure.
But early on, those constraints that we put on the business, and the fact we didn't, I mean, we each put in, I think, 10 grand total.
Oh, wow.
In the whole company. That the constraints of not having a boatload of money at the beginning and the constraints of not having employees forced us to solve problems in a different way. And that's what created that. It was a huge part of what created that outcome. Not having those constraints, doing what you're talking about doing, going and raising $10 million or $2 million, totally eliminates that financial constraint. And even the smartest operators on the planet still do dumb shit when they don't have those constraints. They still put money into things and spend flippantly and get a nicer office than they actually need and hire more people than, the business can afford to pay for. And, back to John's quote, like you're literally winding the company down, like one profit, upside down profit dollar at a time. You just don't know it.
Was it James Connell? Is that who it was?
James Connell.
Okay, I was just like,
it could have been James Connell.
Okay. So
he was with a baby brand.
Yes,
like
yes.
Lulu.
Yep. Lulu Pop. is the name of the brand. And yeah, great to have on the podcast. Maybe the next person that's on this podcast will quote you as well, Adam. That maybe can be the goal here. But Perfect. I think knowing your numbers, like I'm surprised at the number of people like, man, I should really know my P&L or my balance sheet better. Like I'm not a balance sheet expert. There's a reason why someone else does my books and why I have a CPA and why I have people that handle these things. But looking at those numbers tells me, okay, we've got X amount of cash if we're not profitable right now. Or, hey, we've got this much that we can invest in this next thing if we are profitable right now. And there's certainly going to be those seasons of profitability and not profitable or unprofitability. But you have to at least know and have some kind of grasp so that you can know like how far you can go. Otherwise, you're going to end up in a position where you're like, oh man, I don't have any cash left, so I can't do anything. And it's going to hit you in the face when in reality, it probably doesn't need to be like that. So it can be way less painful if you at least know what you have. It's like what gets measured gets managed. You can't manage profitability or even get it if you're not measuring it in the first place. Yeah.
Let's take that a step further in a business, any business, every business on the planet. There are two silos. There's your financial silo, how the business spends money, and there's your income silo, how the business makes money. And in a retail, e-commerce, D2C, B2B, like whatever it is, generally speaking, there's some amount of advertising spend that goes into the make money side of the business, right? Well, how much you spend and how it needs to perform in order to get to break even or to hit a 10% net profit margin, whatever your goal is entirely, completely dependent on the information in that financial silo. The problem, to your point, is that, and I say this from the standpoint, I have been there. Like, so this is not a judgment. Like, this is completely typical. I have been in this position.
Hi, my name is Adam, and I have not been profitable before.
I have lost money before.
I'm X days profitable.
I have lost money when I had the information and still made stupid decisions to give back $1.5 million in net profit that we were in the year before. Happy to tell that story if you want, but
interesting.
It's all about having that info. Like, if you can't build a realistic ad budget if you don't understand how the business spends money.
Okay.
And most companies, they get started because John or Susie or whoever, Adam, like has an idea to solve your own problem. You're scratching your own itch and you create a solution to that problem. And suddenly people also have that problem and need that solution. So they start buying it. And now that person who created this thing is like, oh, cool. Now I'm CEO. And that's it. Like, then the people start buying more of it. And now they're doing $1 million in revenue and they've never understood because they don't have the expertise. They don't understand the finance side of that. The result of which is the ad budgets are completely made up. There's literally, it's like spaghetti against wall analysis. We'll spend $10,000 in ads.
And it's probably not even gluten-free spaghetti. Let's be honest. It's probably just regular pasta.
It's like cheap, white, gluten-full spaghetti with sugar-full sauce, and it's terrible.
Sugar-full sauce, I think, is the real problem. I don't mind gluten every now and again, but yeah, for sure. I'm staying away from that sauce that just has a bunch of sugar in it.
Yeah.
It's not nutritious, for sure, if we're going to tie it back to like what you actually know. And I think what really is interesting about this is you're talking about putting constraints on yourself so that you can be better.
Yeah.
And I think it's very counterintuitive from a human perspective to think, I have a 12-year-old daughter. I think about raising kids. Okay, your kids, what were some of the things I didn't have? Like, I didn't feel like I had as much freedom as a kid. I felt like, especially, getting older, my parents supported me, but like, could they have been like, all right, here's a little bit of like creative license to go do this thing and like make your own mistakes. So like, maybe I want some of that with my daughter. Like, I want to be able to say, all right, look, like I know the right decision here, but you got to make the decision and there'll be consequences, good or bad, either way, based on the decision you make. Like, I am in that process with this teenager now where I have to say, okay, I have to let her make mistakes and I have to not try and prevent them. I've done what I can up to this point, but like, you have to kind of learn now, but feel a little bit of the pain of what's happening. But kids also need constraints and discipline so that they can live better and more free lives. If you say, live your life however you want, go, and they're 5, like they're totally going to mess it up because kids are dumber than you. Like, I'm just going to be 100% honest. I love my kid. and my kid is very smart, but the kids don't have the experience that you have. They need you to tell them, like, here's how you do this thing. And then you have to let them choose whether to do it or not, but they need your guidance. So giving them a bedtime and when to get up, and like, here's how you should be eating, and here's how you stay active, and here's how you do schoolwork. Like, they don't have that stuff. They do not flourish. And so it's the discipline, to your point, in BottleKeeper of like, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. Great. Now, how do we solve problems? It wasn't like that was the end. It's like, we can't do this. All right, we're going to give up. Now it like forced you to be more creative. There's like a million analogies, but like, I think about that as one.
And going back to constraints, I didn't think of this until this collective diatribe. You have constraints in your business. They're inside your P&L. You just don't know what they are.
Ooh, there's your quote. That's your quote right there. People are going to quote that.
Gosh, I hope so. I mean, but it's true. Like, you have constraints. You're just, unless you are intimately familiar with the knowledge and you understand it, you don't know what they are, which means you're operating a business with constraints, like with a pillowcase on your head.
You're operating blindly.
You're flying blind.
Oh man, that really, I really think that is your quote. I just want to make sure that I'm clear that that is so key. You do have constraints in your business, but if you don't know your financials, you just don't know what they are. And so you're going to make really dumb decisions.
Yeah. So you under budget on ads, you go to your ad agency and say, this $10,000 needs to do good. And then a month later you get your P&L and you're like, shoot, we lost money. How did that happen? And the reality is, because of those constraints in your P&L, you needed to get a 27 return on ad spend at $10,000 in ad spend to get to break even. So like, the whole thing was set up for failure.
Right. I was just going to say, how likely is that you get a 27 one
I would call it highly unlikely. Highly go on Shark Tank. Maybe that's the one way to do it, that one following week.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's about it. So changes have to happen. You have to spend more. You have to cut expenses. You have to make changes in the business to bring what that ROAS is down into the realm of reality for your company.
I actually think you are at a huge advantage. I want to be clear. I don't have a problem with people getting funded. Like, there are brands that we work with where they've got funding. Like, that's totally cool if you know what you're doing and how to manage it well. But the problem with getting injections of capital and continuing to get injections of capital is there is no discipline built in more money. And I think humans just look at the cash and like, oh my gosh, I can get this nice office now. Is that what I need to make my product? No, it's not. Then I don't want that right now, because I'm looking at playing the long game here. That's the whole reason why we named the podcast The Longer Game. Well, one, because the long game was already taken and I needed a good URL and I didn't want to do the thing that I did with my agency, which was thinkcartology.com. Cartology.com is already taken. But the long game is, what can I not have now so that I can have more of that thing in the future? What can I delay? What gratification can I delay so that I can't have the thing that I want? And like, that to me is almost, you could have $100 million. You might actually be smart to say, all right, I'm only going to give myself $100,000 this year to work with. What can I do with that? Like, what if that was your approach going into something? Maybe $100,000 is not enough. I don't know, for whatever the idea is, but like, automatically putting constraints on yourself will force you to be more creative. What about that?
Yeah. And to your point on, getting the nicer office, companies need to raise money. Like, I fully appreciate most people don't go start a company with a huge bank account that they get to cash roll into the next thing. So raising money, that's totally fine. The kicker is that, going back to like the ad spend example, if they go and get that office and they go and hire the 3 new people that they think are going to help them grow the company, that's where companies get in trouble. It's not generally in the amount of ad dollars that they're spending. I mean, their budgets, they make them up, and that's a problem because they don't know how it needs to perform. And the result of which is like, defining good is impossible and doing good is impossible unless you're just lucky. The problem is that, particularly for an early stage company, let's call it sub 10 million in revenue, is that they go and hire a bunch of people and open that nice office that they think they're going to grow into, and maybe they will, and that's fine. But the result of which is like, their revenue at the efficiency it's currently operating, it might need to 2 or 3x to pay for that stuff. And you just don't know it. Like, that's where it's just, I hesitate to call it dead weight because it may not be dead. Maybe it's alive and well, but that is the weight that gets added to the company in those operating expenses or fixed expenses is where most early stage brands get into trouble.
So basically, early stage brands are adding bad operating weight that they don't actually know what they need to do in order to overcome that or balance out that dead weight or even leverage it. Like, if I want to open this office, great, we can do that eyes wide open, but I know we need to go from 1 to 2.7 million in revenue to cover that and it to actually make sense for us.
Yeah. Or I need to increase my ad budget, from 20,000 a month at a 3 ROAS to get to break even. That now needs to either be 20,000 a month at a 5 ROAS to break even, or we need to increase the ad budget. I mean, there's this inverse relationship between the performance, the ROAS performance, or whatever metric you want to use to measure that, and the amount that you spend. The more that you spend, the lower that performance metric can be to accomplish your net profit goal, as long as you have defined that goal. And that's a really important piece. Most companies don't do that either. If we can define the goal, this is like a great sailing analogy. If you or anybody listening has ever been on a sailboat, like you set your destination and you chart waypoints back from that destination. And that's exactly what we're talking about. If we set the destination, we can use math, not AI. Important.
Oh man, I thought I was going to get through one podcast where we didn't say the word AI, but I knew it was going to happen.
I blew it. Yeah, sorry. Alert. AI is not good at math. I'm happy to argue that till our heads fall off.
Yeah, there's one site that now I'm blanking on it, but there literally is a site that is AI that is for math. Like it's like I'll have to find out what it is.
Here's the challenge, and we don't need to go down the AI math rabbit hole, but just dip our toe in. Unless you know the math, like you actually understand and know the math, you don't know that it's wrong.
Right. Yes, that's the problem. That's the real issue.
Like we all know, we've all used AI in some capacity. It's really confident until you correct it. And then it's, oh, you're right. Do it this other way. So like, unless you understand the math, it's dangerous.
Which defeats the purpose. So we don't use it for that. Yeah. And I have a friend who told me that he read a paper that he posted on social media. By the way, shout out to Adam's mug right now. That Montana mug is just absolutely crushing it, especially with the state in the background. He's trying to outdo me. I've got this huge map that just happens to line up with my agency Cartology's name. Just thank God my wife is a great decorator and we have maps all over the house, and I now happen to be in our old dining room. And so people are like, man, I love that map. That really plays well. And I'm just like, yeah, thank my wife. She's the one that decorated it. Your Montana might be bigger for measuring. Just being honest, but yours is plenty. Yours is plenty good. But he said that AI is confident in what it says because people are more willing to believe it when it is confident versus I'm not sure, maybe it's this. So it actually wins by being more confident in earning your trust. It doesn't mean that it wins in accuracy. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? That's a problem. That's crazy.
No, like it's fine. Let's just take it for what it is. You have to question it and you can't just assume that it's correct. So know that and don't use it for math.
Treat AI like your teenager treats you. Yeah. Like, well, why? But why? Well, because that's just how it works. I know, but why is that? You know what? I don't know. I don't have the freaking answer. So quit asking me why. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure that you weren't full of shit, Dad. Thanks.
Bye.
Not saying that's a real conversation that's happened, but
yeah,
it could be.
It probably is actually.
Okay, so people don't know how to back into stuff when it comes to like setting goals. And we talk about this with brands all the time, and it's kind of crazy. People are like, I did a video series. It was called "How Much Should I Spend on Amazon?" and like how much ad spend should I spend on Amazon? And the answer is always something that people hate hearing, but it is the reality of the answer, and it's really just a preliminary answer. But I bet you can guess what the answer is that I would give people trying to actually be responsible. If they say, how much should I spend on ads? What do you think I say to them?
I mean, to me, it depends.
Oh, boom! Depends. That's exactly what the answer is. Always, it depends. Because if I don't know where you want to go, I can't help you get there. And it's always crazy when I get on a discovery call with someone. I'm like, all right, well, what are you doing in sales right now? Oh, I can't really give that information. Okay, well, like, where do you want to go? I don't have, I can't give that information. Great. I can't help you. We should never have gotten on this call if you're not
We
willing
are not a good fit.
I will sign whatever NDA you want. I'm not here to try and reverse engineer your business. But if I don't know where you are and I don't know where you want to go, I don't know how much of a gap there is, and I don't know what to tell you in order to close that gap. Now, if you tell me, hey, we want to do $10 million in revenue, we're doing one right now, and we're spending $1,000 a month in ads. Now I can say, whoa, you're doing $1 million a year in revenue and you're spending $1,000 a month in ads. You are severely anemic on the ad side. And my guess is that you're now living off of just branded search that's coming to Amazon. But then we can go and look at your category and determine what you need to get to 10 million. But we always work backwards because I also know a couple things. Like you could be spending $10,000 a month now, but as soon as we start adjusting things and start spending 50, I actually know that your efficiency is going to go down because of what we're going to target and how aggressive we're going to need to be in the beginning. And so that is actually going to impact everything, and it's going to impact your total sales. It's going to impact all this other stuff. But I'm a little flabbergasted that people are like, yeah, I don't know, I want to grow. And I'm like, that's a really dangerous goal. Not that it can't be okay to want to grow, but if you have no clue where you want to go and you have a specific idea maybe in your mind that you're not sharing with someone, imagine, like you said, going to your ad agency. You're like, well, we now want to spend 10 grand, not knowing that you actually need a 27-1 ROAS. What ad agency in their right mind, to be clear, their right mind is going to take on that challenge?
Yeah. I mean, we know the answer to that. I mean,
it depends.
It depends. Part of the challenge is they don't generally know that. So they go, yeah, sure, we'll try, we'll do our best. And then they were set up for failure. They didn't know it. Customer didn't know it. Nobody really knows it. So
that's called that then creates a very well-known, but often not talked about venereal disease called agency burn. And it is curable, but it creates it, and you don't need to create agency burn, is all I'm going to say. If you go in knowing to ask the right questions. Yeah, it does sound awful.
Yeah.
And we deal with people all the time who have it, and we have to do a little bit of therapy of like, all right, well, hey, I'm sorry to hear that you had that bad experience. Where did it go wrong? Well, this. Okay, well, did they ask you about this? Well, what about this? Like, people just feel less curious, I feel like, almost at times. Like, how are you doing this thing right now? And instead they want to show how right they are. And I think we can get to us being correct about something, but I could almost give two shits about being right in this moment. And instead, I need to know more about what it is, which just goes back to your point about your financials. Like, you don't know what you don't know. And so you're flying a plane with a pillowcase over your head and you're going to crash at some point.
Yeah. I think about benchmarking in the exact same context. I get questions from customers or people going through demos or whatever. Like, where should I be? Where are other companies in my arena at? And honestly, the answer is I'm not going to include that, and it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Like, that bag company selling a similar costed, retail bag as you down the street has 37 employees and you have 6.
Right.
It's not. Yeah, seeing their averaged benchmarks across the industry is useless. It just gives you this vanity metric to chase, and it is irrelevant to your specific situation.
So in that moment, what do you tell that bag company that has 6 employees, not 37?
I mean, if they ask me about benchmarks, I tell them exactly what I just told you.
But then how do you get them to a place where they can maybe set and or know a better goal so they can't, let's say they're open and receptive to what you have to say.
Yeah. I mean, at the point that we're having that conversation, we're looking at Pentane, and we're looking at it with their financials attached to it and their revenue systems attached to it and their ad systems attached to it. And it's telling them the answer to the question.
So you're basically saying it doesn't matter, but here's what does matter.
Yeah, like exactly. Like the take the benchmark, like throw that out the window. That's not useless. That's not useful for your situation, or frankly, in my opinion, any situation, until you get big and massive and then things average out. But when you're in that sub 10 million revenue, like, company sizes wild, very dramatically. So in that situation, it's taking their stuff in. They're saying, I want to get to 5% net margin. And then it's telling them exactly what to go and do, and giving them an ad slider that slides their advertising budgets up and down and shows them how, in a dynamic table, how all these things change, how the ROAS changes, how their net profit changes, What happens if they add a discount? What happens if they increase their prices? What happens if they add expenses? What happens if they remove expenses? What happens if they get hit with a 25% tariff? Like all these things, it creates this really dynamic system. They get to pull all those levers. And again, those were some of the things that we did really well at BottleKeeper, was understanding the math behind pulling those levers to answer questions before we went and made decisions.
You know what I'm also thinking about as you're saying that is, you said there was a lot of things that you did poorly and there was a couple of things that you did really well. In order to be successful as an entrepreneur, one, you have to be okay to fail. And by okay, I don't mean unfeeling. Like it still sucks to fail. But if you're okay to step out and fail, you can learn from that and you can grow. Like I've had people who are like, hey, I see you like, put out content on LinkedIn and you talk about some kind of, personal scenario or something. I could never do that. And I'm like, you're absolutely wrong. You of course could. You just have to be willing to be okay with like someone gives you crap about something, or if someone doesn't like what you say, like, can you deal with that? That's honestly like an anxiety coping technique. Just like, all right, someone doesn't like what you said. Can you deal with that? Are you okay? Well, I won't like it. Okay, you won't like it and you'll feel uncomfortable. Like, will you make it past that moment? Can you move on? Yeah. Okay, like, can you deal with it? Yep. Okay, well then maybe I can do that. So I feel like people limit themselves just because they think, I don't know, like you're somehow capable of something that I'm not, which in reality is not true. But when it comes to these brands, sometimes I even think, well, why do you want that goal in the first place? Like, and maybe it's not super important. Like if you want a 5% margin, great. But like, I often think, why do you want a 5% margin? And usually right under there's like a little bit more of a problem that you just didn't hear. It's like, well, because my dad founded this business and he founded the business on 5% net profit. It's like, okay, well now I know why we're like, you're trying to build a family legacy here, maybe is like what we're going after. Let's talk about if you want to keep doing that or not. But it's like just a question or two below where you think is the answer. Oftentimes there's like more root cause of what could actually be happening. And I've heard so many people say, well, I want to get to, let's just say, they always say ACOS, advertising cost of sale on the Amazon side of things, but they'll say, I need a 5-to-1 ROAS. My question, I'm guessing would just be, why? Why do you want a 5-to-1 ROAS? Okay. Well, because that's a good ROAS. I'm like, great, but why is that a good ROAS? It just is. And then I'm at a crossroads where I'm like, do I keep going and asking questions and eventually level set, or do we just like back off? And I've had people before be like, well, that's just math. Like, that's just how that works. I'm like, great. Okay. What if I told you you could make this amount and your net profit would be the same, but your percent margin would be lower, but you'd be able to make this amount and that would actually increase your multiple because you've also told me that you want to sell. Does that now change the perspective for you? And the answer might be yes, but it's like helping them reframe. But it still comes back to what you said at the very beginning, Adam, is like, you can't make any good decisions unless you know the numbers. And if you don't know the numbers, you will ultimately make really bad decisions, not because you're stupid, but because you just don't know the numbers.
The very first company to come into like the functional version of Pentane, when it was like outside of spreadsheets, was losing $100,000 a month. They were a $2 million a year business. They had a couple of months of runway left, and their return on ad spend was 8. It's like, sweet, right? So what's the problem? The problem is they needed to spend, this is what the math said. This wasn't my opinion. It's not a conjecture. It's not theoretical. It's just what the math said.
Not the AI math, the true math.
The actual like conditional logic, algebra, and a little bit of calculus math.
Good.
You need to 3x your ad spend. Like, ooh, that's uncomfortable. And we need to bring your ROAS down to 2.5. And they solved the math, and they, you don't do that overnight. Like it took some time, 6 weeks or something to get that ad spend up. And 3 months later, they were profitable at a 2.5 ROAS.
Oh my gosh. That just like sounds amazing, because it really is amazing, but they never would have known that.
It's yeah. And again, like, going through, I talk a lot about the mechanics because it's important. I don't want it to feel like it's a secret. Like Pentane automates these things and it does it in a really dynamic fashion. That's great. But like the math is, you have revenue, you have expenses associated to that revenue. So if you have If you're operating on a 30% or a 70% gross margin, that means 30% of your costs are going to cost of goods. And then you have 20% of shipping and fulfillment and Amazon fees and, whatever. You now have 50% of every dollar you earned is gone before you spend a dollar advertising. Right? So the difference between that number, the dollar and the 50 cents, is called contribution profit. That amount of money goes to pay for your fixed expenses. So if you have a shitload of fixed expenses, if you have $100,000 in fixed expenses, you have to generate $200,000 in revenue without spending a single ad dollar just to pay for those fixed expenses. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So then that 50 cents, now you start spending advertising dollars and that 50 cents starts to shrink. You have to be at a 2 return on ad spend to get to contribution profit 0 on an ad. But if you spend, at a 4 return on ad spend, means you're spending 25 cents on each dollar to go and acquire a customer. Now that 50 cents is 25 cents. So now you have to generate $400,000 to pay for that $100,000 in fixed expenses. So it's like, that's the way these things work. Like, you have to drive enough revenue. If you're unwilling or incapable of changing the fixed expense basis in the business, which, to be clear, is like dramatically easier than driving a ton more contribution profit. And every dollar from that goes directly to the net profit bucket. But if that's not realistic, then you have to drive a ton more revenue to create a lot more contribution profit. And there has to be some efficiency in there in order to pay for the fixed expenses. And what is left is your net profit. That's where net profit comes from. It's your net profit is equal to contribution profit minus fixed expenses, like full stop. So you can either increase your contribution profit to impact your net profit, or you can decrease your fixed expenses, directly impact your net profit. Ideally, we're doing both. Like, that's the whole business revolves around increasing contribution profit by efficient sales and keeping those fixed expenses under control. If they're growing at the same rate as your contribution profit, we're back to, like winding the company down slowly. You just don't know it.
To say, yes, I'm okay to cut these expenses or not. Like, be willing to pull the rug out from under yourself if you're like, I have this nice office, and it's like, is this office really driving us closer to our contribution profit target that we now know, or is it not? Because if it's not, being willing to cut those fixed expenses, it can mean years more for the company versus like, well, I have this nice office and it's a vanity. Like, talk about a vanity metric. Like, I have this office. Like, if anything, I would think the pandemic told people pretty quickly, like, your office doesn't mean anything. It doesn't need to even be there. And you've shown that in companies that you've run. That's been the case for me. Like, my whole team is remote. I don't have a nice office. Like, I work from my home. My team is located around the world, but I can go meet you somewhere nice if you want. Like, I don't have to have a nice office to take you out to dinner or something like that if that's really the case. But you have to be willing, I think, to just say, yeah, we don't need this. This is not the most important thing as well, too. And that feels like that can be hard to part with.
Yeah. I mean, 2 parts to that. One, if you were the CEO, founder, operator of a business and you were incapable of making hard decisions, I can't. Like, there's no piece of software or consultant or whatever is going to help you get out of your own way. And that's, again, not everybody should, be an owner of a company. That's not a judgment. Like, I know plenty of people that I love deeply that should not own companies.
Yeah.
That's okay. It takes like a certain amount of, I don't know, willingness to eat glass.
Yeah. I was going to say cojones, but yeah, same thing.
Yeah. So the other side to that, though, is what I've found is that when someone sees how much easier it could get by making some changes, it gets really motivating.
Okay.
It does. Like, when you see, look, you have to, in order to get to break even, where we're not giving money, into the Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole. We're now adding money to the pot. We have positive contribution profit. In order for that to happen, you're at a 5, unless you cut $10,000 a month in expenses, and then it goes to 3.5. Like, tends to be a fairly eye-opening experience. And they go and start digging through the P&L and start looking and finding ways to cut, because they just haven't been paying attention to it. They didn't realize it was a problem.
You're almost giving them a reason to be more curious.
Yeah. Giving them the information to go and, push and pull. And yeah, some of it is going to be uncomfortable, but that's the reality of the field that you're in. Like, Firing somebody is not comfortable. That's a terrible, unless you are a true sociopath. It is freaking awful. But the reality is it's a critical, you're going to have to do it at some point.
It's a great point. And you can still do it with grace. Like, you don't have to be
100%.
You don't have to be an ass when you do it. I don't like firing people, but guess what? If I want my business to succeed, there are times when I'm like, look, this is not a business fit anymore. I want you to know, I think you're a nice person. Does not make sense because of these metrics that we've said you need to hit. You're not hitting. It doesn't make sense. I have to let you go.
And if we look at, let's go to the Jim Collins, like you only have so many seats on the school bus. If that person isn't meeting the metrics, they're in the wrong seat and they might be on the wrong bus.
Yes.
And you're not doing them any favors by keeping them on your bus. You're actually doing them a disservice by keeping them in a position that they cannot be successful at. You're disallowing them from going and finding something that is a better fit for them.
Because if you're by not firing them, you're telling them they're doing a good job.
Yeah, or also telling everyone around them that they're doing a good job, and everyone around them may not agree with that.
And that will hurt morale. That is like a culture 101 thing. People talk about like culture, like we have a great culture. Culture is like, hey, you do what you say you're going to do and you align with our core values, you can stay. If not, you don't get to stay, but you allow people to stay. That's when you start to get toxic situations where they could even be well-meaning and they just aren't doing a great job and you're holding on to them because you feel bad for them. Don't give them sympathy. The most kind thing that you can do in that instance is to be honest with them and say, this is not working. We have to let you go. And you don't have to be rude. You don't have to be mean and say, you suck and I hate you and I hate your whole family. That's just bad business, but also bad personal skills as well too. Just would not recommend telling anyone you hate their whole family. Even if you do, don't say it. It's not going to help anything. But hey, this is not working. Here's the reasons why, because we've said this. And maybe even getting a feel for that. Like, one, you should have given that person that feedback a long time ago. We're now getting to the reasons why you didn't want to hire a bunch of people and have to deal with people in your companies. But here's what we want you to hit. You've consistently not hit this. Does this feel like this is working for you? No. Okay. Like then we need to, based on this criteria, it's not gonna work. But I actually, when you said eating a bag of glass, that makes me think of Dan Aykroyd on the SNL Christmas episode where it's like he's got these like dangerous toys for kids and he's like, oh yeah, it's a bag of glass, it's just a bag of glass, what's wrong with that, bag of glass? And it's like, yeah, but it's a bag of glass. Yeah, no, kids love bag of glass, blah blah. Anyway, that's where my head went with that. And that is actually what I'm selling this Christmas time, is a bag of glass coming to an Amazon near you.
Yeah.
Bag of glass, maybe. Bag of nails, probably not so much. I think today has been, pun intended, richly enlightening, because it's just helping people to get a better understanding of like what should you know maybe in your business. And once you do know, then you can actually are empowered to make decisions. So I appreciate that information, and even getting down to the nitty gritty of like talking about something like your contribution profit and how that, what you said, net profit minus fixed expenses, right, is your contribution profit, which I love. A lot of people aren't thinking about things like that, and they're fixed on a number when instead it's like, how do you get your company to survive? That's what I think we should ultimately be focusing on.
Agreed. People
want to know more about what you're doing. Adam, where should they look? Wonderland, or do you have a better place to point them to?
Yeah, definitely. Don't go down the rabbit hole. You can learn more at pentane.com, pentane.com. You can find me screaming and yelling about business stuff on LinkedIn. I am starting to do some other socials, much to my chagrin. I was off them for a very, very, very long time. And in this new AI world of authenticity, I guess being authentic is really important.
I feel like you could kind of crush it on X. I just feel like that would be a good place to be.
Yeah, I have an X account. It's, I haven't spent, we're building it up. I'm getting help from other people in my life to spend more time in the socials, talking Montana and telling stories and doing business stuff.
That cool. Well, you guys heard it here first. Don't go to Wonderland, but maybe coming to X soon. We'll see. We'll see if Adam's there. But yeah, people, that's it. Just go and learn your numbers and go do better business because you actually know your numbers. But that's it. We don't have any other lessons for you. We're out. All right, that was the show. What did you think? That was the longer game. We would love for you to share the show with other people and to leave us a review of the show. So go to iTunes, Go to Spotify. You can go to YouTube. Comment, leave a review, and share this on any social channels that you are active on and wherever you have influence. We want to share this story and stories like it to as many people as possible. Do you have a compelling story and do you want to come on the podcast and talk about it, and you're in the retail industry? Then go to thelongergame.com, fill out a form, and we will contact you about coming on the show. You can find us on any social channels, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and you can go to our website, thelongergame.com, to actually read all of these episodes in blog form in text, because we know not everyone's going to listen. This podcast is brought to you by my agency, Cartology. We are a customized, done-for-you service agency that helps brands win on Amazon. It is super complex selling on the Amazon marketplace. We help simplify that for you. This podcast is also brought to you by Podcastify Me. They are a full-service podcast production company that designs podcasts around people who are paid for their advice. That is coaches. If you want someone to help create, strategize, and distribute your podcast to the masses, go to podcastify.me to find out more. I've so enjoyed that you've been a part of the conversation and that you've given of your time to hear these people's stories. We'd love for you to share. If you want to find out more, just go to thelongergame.com. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay blessed. And until next time, cheers.